Did you know that Shuhei has one of the most relentless and unfair Bankais in the entire Gotei 13? A Bankai which controls the very boundaries of life and death, and one which can take down even Soul King candidates. Welcome to Aizen's world, and let's get into it.
Bankai, 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 Bankai,
Bankai,
Bankai, Bankai, Bankai. It's been a while, hasn't it? Ryoka boy.
In his battle against Findor Kalios, Shuhei explained his hatred for his own Zanpakutō. Its shape implied that it was simply made to take lives and nothing more, something which somewhat conflicted with Shuhei's own character. But did you know that Shuhei had to undergo at least 3 stages of evolution before reaching Bankai? The first stage was to transform his sword into the basic Shikai. And while this might seem to be a simple scythe and chain, his Shikai draws its power from 3 main components, with the first being its incredible range due to its long chains. This allows him to outmaneuver his opponents over long distances. The second is the cutting power of the sights when they spin, with the rotating velocity of the sights increasing its cutting power. And the third component is the unpredictable nature of the movements of the sights and chains, which can throw his opponents off. Bear these things in mind as we move on to the second evolution of the Zanpakutō. In Can't Your Own World, when Shuhei faced off against Tokinada's Tsunayashiro, he had to close his eyes to avoid meeting the gaze of Tokinada's Kyokasu-getsu. It was in that moment of pure darkness that he somewhat drew closer to Kazeshini. Tokinada, using the great noble clan Zanpakutō of the Tsunayashiro house, Enryokyo-ten, which could copy the abilities of other Zanpakutō that he has seen, with his sadistic personality tried to use Tosen's Benihiko to skewer Hisagi. But to his surprise, Hisagi parried every last one of the countless blades. And in this moment, again, Hisagi's eyes were closed, so he could only rely on spiritual pressure senses. But there was something more. The chains and sights of Kazeshini became alive and began to react to Tokinada's attacks. They would even stop mid-flight to react to attacks like Wabisuke, or increase their speed to cut through the walls of flame produced by Tokinada's Ryujin Jaka. Now I should clarify that Tokinada's spiritual pressure rivaled the great nobles like Byakuya and Yoruichi. Therefore his Wabisuke was much stronger than Kira's, but his Ryujin Jaka was weaker than Genryu's. And he was using other Zanpakutō to restrain other captains like Shunsui, so his full spiritual pressure was not devoted towards fending off Shuhei. However, Shuhei was still performing at the levels of a captain, and would even go on to disperse the blades of Senbon Sakura used by Tokinada. He even managed to back the aristocrat into a corner, and later Shuhei's sights became so sharp and powerful that he could cut off Tokinada's arm, and this was while he was absorbing Aura's spiritual pressure, when prior to that he was able to withstand a blow from Ginjo's base Zanpakutō, which further demonstrates Shuhei's tremendous growth. And finally, Shuhei's true Shikai. After getting completely bisected by Hikone's Zanpakutō, Shuhei was sent to his inner world. Here, Kazeshini explained that he doesn't grant a massive power increase in Bankai like Nozarashi or White. Instead, his true power, which controls life and death, was awakened when Shuhei understood him as a concept. And so the same Shuhei Hisagi who was cut in half by Hikone returned to life as if nothing had happened. Even powerful Seros from Hikone, someone who rivaled Kenpachi's base spiritual pressure, would destroy parts of Hisagi's body only for him to immediately return to life. The black chains would always pull Hisagi's body back together and he could not be killed. This was the final stage of Hisagi's true Shikai, but he went a step further. He released Bankai. Hisagi's Bankai dominates the entire space with massive chains, from the air to the ground, connecting both him and Hikone, to a massive black sun made of chains which hovered above them, a Bankai which binds both life and death together in an endless cycle. In this state, both Hisagi and Hikone became immortals, and their energies were absorbed by the black sun and shared equally. And after a while, both fighters will have their energies exhausted, to the point where neither of them can continue the fight. This is the true power of Shuhei's Bankai, and this is significant because Hikone was someone who had spiritual pressure which rivaled Kenpachi's without his eye patch, which massively dwarfed all the other captains in the Valley of Screams, someone who could become a Soul King upon receiving a Hogyoku. It's no wonder Kenpachi was hunting down Shuhei towards the end of the novel, just so he could pick a fight with him. But of course, Shuhei can no longer fear his own world. Be sure to like and subscribe, and see you guys soon. Cheers.